Am I audible now? Hello?
Ma'am, you are audible, but there is some disturbance in the noise, in the voice.
Okay. Is it fine now? Hello?
Ma'am, still there is disturbance.
Hello? Hello? Now it is good?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So unit number 3, that is polymorphism. We already are familiar with this term, what is polymorphism and how it is implemented in Java. So unit 3 will explore more on polymorphism and how it is implemented in Java. So in this unit, we are going to cover this keyword, what is meaning of this, then static keyword, what is static variable, static methods, what is use of static keyword in Java. Then we'll focus on function overloading and overriding. Overloading is compile time polymorphism. Then how to pass arguments to a method. There are different ways, pass by value, pass by reference. So we'll see how to pass by value and pass by reference in Java. Then we'll talk about constructor overloading. Then we already seen arrays in Java and we'll focus on strings, how to handle strings in Java. Then introduction to Java collection framework. Java has inbuilt collection of generic classes and interfaces. We'll see how to use predefined classes which are already there in Java. No need to create our class from scratch. We can use ready-made classes and their methods which are already in Java. We'll see the example of array list and hash set. These are two classes we'll see from Java collection framework, and we'll focus on real life examples and use cases for polymorphism. So you know the definition, it means many forms. Java allows multiple objects of different subclasses to be treated as object of single superclass, while automatically selecting proper methods to apply to a particular object based on subclass it belongs to. So you'll understand this in unit 4. We have one superclass and if we have more than one subclasses. For example, say there is a class called shape and subclasses are say circle, triangle, rectangle, square, etc. And suppose you have a draw method. So if you call draw method with circle class object, it should draw a circle. If you call draw method with rectangle class, it should draw an rectangle like this. But if this is possible with the help of polymorphism. Same example, suppose shape class and area. And these are the child classes circle, triangle and rectangle. And if you call this area method with the object of circle class, it will calculate area of a circle. If you call area method from main using triangle object, it will calculate area of a triangle. So this is example of polymorphism. Now what is this? So when we create an object, let's create an object, say box. We are using this class box. What are the variables in box class? Int, height, width and depth. And then we have a box constructor where we can pass parameters. integers a, b, and c, and we assign these variables to height, width, and depth. Height is say a, width is equal to say b, and depth is equal to say c. So I have a constructor which will initialize these values, and I have a method, say void volume, and this method will calculate volume. Volume is equal to height into width into depth and display it. System dot out dot print ln. I have to display volume. Its variable. This is my box class, and in main, okay, I have to choose Java. You are able to see Python visualizer, right? The screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So box class is ready. Then I have another class. In main, we have to create object of box class. So how to create object? Box b1, any name of your choice, is equal to new box, and I'm passing some values, say 2, 3, and 4. And when we execute it, so your class is ready, method is ready. I haven't called method yet. I just created an object. So you can see execution started from main. And here something this. Are you able to see this? This means current object. So initially these are the variables a, b, c, which are these arguments to this constructor, and value of a is 2, b is 3, and c is 4. So it has taken these values a, b, c, and this pointer is pointing to current object, that is box instance, with height, width, and depth initialized to 0. And when these three statements execute sequentially, height will be initialized to A, width will be initialized to B, and depth will be initialized to C. And this is pointing to this object. So this object is now B1. So before initializing this object, Java internally uses a pointer which is called this. So if I call the function b1, how to call a function? I need object to call a function b1 dot volume. Function name. I'm not passing any parameter, so empty bracket and semicolon. And if I do visualization again, you can see this is pointing to current object. And now when we call a method, so this is a pointer, this method is called from b1 object. So you call this method volume using b1 object. And pointer, this pointer is pointing to current object with values 2, 3, and 4. So 2 into 3 into 4 will be 24. And it will display this result here. Volume is 24. One more thing. So instead of A, B, C, if I pass same variables H, W, and D. if I pass same variables h, w and d, and now what I am doing is h equal to h, width equal to width, and depth equal to depth. Okay, so what will happen? This left hand side h is my argument to this function or constructor, and right hand side right hand side h is my instance variable. So I want to assign this value of this h to here, value of this w here, value of this d here. So just to make sure that okay, this will work without any errors, it will work because compiler is very smart. But just to avoid the confusion from compiler angle or from programmer point of angle, so this is HWD, which are our arguments, and this HWD is instance variables of a class, and it will assign the values and your program will work and you will get the output. But to avoid something, see here you are not getting the output, we'll go back and we'll check why we are not getting the output. 2, 3, 4. So here h equal to h. Here value of h is 2, here value of h is 0. So compiler is getting confused which h to assign to which h. This h is right hand side, h is instance variable, that this one or this one. So to make compiler clear, to avoid this misunderstanding, we'll use this pointer, this dot h, this dot h, w, and this dot d. It will make compiler to understand that this h, w, and d are the variables of class or instance variables of the calling object, and this h, w, d are the parameters that we are passing to the function. So if I again run this code, now it is assigning this value of h to 2, w to 3, and d to 4. That means this is nothing but the current object, which is calling the current method or a constructor. For which object you are calling a constructor, for which object you are calling a method. Now it is showing volume 24. Now you can understand what is written on the slide after this example. This keyword refers to the current object in a method or constructor. So note that for a particular class, for a particular class can create any number of objects. Like here we have created object b1. So you can create object b1, b2, b3 up to b100. And then you call the method or a constructor for creating that object, or from b1 you are calling volume 1, from b2 you are calling volume 1, from b3 you are calling volume 1. So which object you are calling that method, this is referred by this keyword. The most common use of this keyword is to eliminate confusion between class attributes and parameters with same name. If you are passing the attributes to a function which is the same name as that of the class variables, so to avoid that confusion, you can use this keyword, because a class attribute is shadowed by the method constructor parameter. We just now we have seen that h equal to h, compiler get confused and it has assigned 0 value to our constructor in a constructor. Note that this can be also used to invoke current class constructor, then invoke current class method, return current class object, pass an argument in a method call, and pass an argument in a constructor call. So you can see each use in detail. How to call a current class constructor. So constructor of a current class can be called with this keyword. Then you can invoke current class method with this keyword. Then you can return current class object. For example, in this case, In this case, instead of calling this method volume at line number 21, I can call this volume method from the class itself, from another method. Say here I have another method void display of the same class which has this function. And from display, I want to call volume method. Here, instead of b1 dot volume, I'm calling b1 dot display. From b1 dot display, before displaying this volume, I want to call this volume function. So volume function can be called like this: display dot vol, this dot vol. So it will call volume function for the current object. Here, instead of b1 dot volume and b1 dot display, here also we can call b1 dot volume. This is the one way, but to call a function, sometimes we need to call the functions of a class, call a function of the class from another function of the same class, we can use this keyword. So instead of calling function volume from main, if I want to call it from another function of the same class, I can use this keyword. So volume function is not a function, this variable is not the variable of a class. Suppose I put this variable here in a class, because the scope of volume variable, right here volume, method name is volume. So the scope of this variable was only to this method. So I made it now class variable. So it is available to all the methods of a class. No need to pass this variable. So now it will work. So this line will create a object, initialize this object with this constructor. Then we are calling b1 dot display method, and display method is pointing to current object. Now with this current object we are calling volume method. So note that to call any method we need an object, and we didn't know while writing this class which object is going to call this method. So you can use this pointer. So volume method is called for this object and it will point to the current object, and you'll get the volume 24. Output is same. Output will not change. What changes? How you are creating your code, how you are writing your program. So you can invoke current class method. Invoke means call. Similarly, you can call current class constructor using this keyword. Note that you can use this keyword only with the class for that particular class. I cannot use this keyword in main. Main, it will point to that main class object. You can return current class object with this method. You can pass arguments and you can pass arguments to constructor. Here example is given. Public class main, it has integer x, a constructor. Again, if you pass parameter x, to just avoid this confusion x equal to x, you have to use this on the left hand side. So it can show the value that you have entered 5. Another use of this keyword, like this in a constructor, you can refer page number 124 and 125 from book T1, that is Java Complete Reference, for more on this keyword. Or the complete example of box class. I just explained you this example with Python tutor. And this is called namespace collision. These collisions can be resolved using this keyword. Then we have seen there are two types of polymorphism: static polymorphism, which is called compile time polymorphism or lexical polymorphism, and dynamic polymorphism, it is called runtime polymorphism or execution time polymorphism. So static polymorphism is to be resolved during compile time. So there we are using same function name. So that function name must be connected to function body. For example, in this case, you call volume. Volume is a function name. I'll delete this. And I am using a normal function called b1.volume. Suppose my function name is now volume. So this is a function call and this is a function body. So which, after calling this function, which function code to execute this one, or if I have another function, say volume, void volume, if I have another function where I'm passing some parameter, if I pass a depth again, here volume is equal to h into, it will take h and w and depth from the user, suppose. This is function overloading. And if I call a volume, and here instead of 4 I pass 5. So for this first function call b1.volume, it will call this function, and for second function call b1.volume5, it will call this function. So now this function call and this function body, function call and function body. So there is a binding between function call and function body, and this should be resolved at compile time. Then it is called compile time polymorphism. So function overloading can resolve this binding at compile time, so it is called compile time polymorphism. Here itself compiler can understand that if you are not passing any parameter, this method to be called, and if you are passing parameter, this method to be called. So if you compile it, compiler automatically call the function depending upon the parameters that you are passing. So this is the object gets created, and now b1 is the object, and you call b1.volume, say volume line number 28 is getting executed, and it has called volume function from line number 12. That means first function, because the function you called without a parameter, and it has displayed. So we haven't displayed that first volume. So again, I'm calling a second volume with 5. So it will now execute this volume method. So this call and function body will result at runtime, compile time. So it is called compile time polymorphism. I hope you are getting what I mean to say. Polymorphism that is resolved during compile time is known as static polymorphism. It means that when compiler is able to determine the actual function, it is called at compile time. So there are two types of polymorphisms: function, method overloading and operator overloading. Note that method overloading means function overloading or constructor overloading is available in Java. Operator overloading is not available in Java. It is available in C++. So what is operator overloading? Like function overloading, you can write a function to perform different things. You can ask operator to do the different things. For example, plus operator. Operator plus is used to add numerical values, say two integers, two character, two floating point numbers, two double numbers. But if you want plus operator to concatenate two strings, or plus operator to add two different matrices, or a plus operator to add two times, type t1 and t2, means hours, minutes and seconds, and calculate the new timing like this, then that is called function overloading. You have to write a function to perform, operator overloading. You have to write a function to perform operator overloading. Next type of polymorphism is dynamic. Dynamic polymorphism happens at runtime, and this is a call of overridden method, which is resolved at runtime. So in case of constructor, you'll understand that if I have uh, a super class, if I have a super class and that child class, we have seen that shape class and circle class, rectangle class, etc. So in this case, if you call area method with a particular object, so how compiler will understand that which area method to call, area of circle class, triangle class, or rectangle class. So at runtime, that method gets assigned or object will get assigned, and depending upon that particular object, as you know, objects are created at runtime using new keyword. So at runtime, you'll understand that whether you have to call method of a circle class, triangle class, or rectangle class. So function overriding is called runtime polymorphism, is an example of runtime polymorphism. So we'll start with function overloading or method overloading. It is type of static polymorphism. In Java, it is possible to define two or more methods with the same name. The condition is method name should be same. Number of parameters or type of parameters can be different. Return type doesn't play any role here. The class has shared the same name as long as their parameter declarations are different. So this is the case, the methods are said to be overloaded. The process is referred as method overloading. Overloaded method must differ in type and number of parameters. Either type of the parameter should be different or name of the parameter should be different. Now look at the chat box. Just tell me whether it is method overloading or not. I have a method where I am passing two integer parameters, and I have another method add where I am passing two floating point parameters. So is it a method overloading? Yes or no? Is it a method overloading?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Number of parameters are same, but type of parameter is different. So it's a method overloading. If I have another method, say add with integer. So is it a method overloading? Add with int comma int, add with int comma, add with float float, and add with int. Yes, it is also a method overloading because here I am passing only one parameter, and in previous two there are two parameters. So number is different, type or number. So in previous case, number of parameters was same, two parameters, but type was different, int and float. Here type is same, but number of parameters is different. Add int comma int and add int. If I have different return type, first method is int, add int, and second method is float, add. This is return type, int comma int. Return type is different, but number of parameters and type of parameters is same. Is it a method overloading? Return type is different, but number of parameters and type of parameters is same. Look at the last two sentences in the chat box. Int, add int comma int, and float, add int comma int. Question is it a method overloading? Can you say that this is the example of method overloading? Shreya, why it is no? Answer is correct. It is no because return type doesn't play any role in a method signature. These are exactly same signatures and compiler will throw an error. I'll show you how. This is not the example of method overloading. This is an error. We should have, as the definition says, type or number of parameters should be different. Return type doesn't play any role. So here, instead of void, suppose I want integer, I'm returning integer value and I didn't pass any parameter. I want to return this value, return volume. So note that here volume method and this volume method. Exactly name is same, number of parameters, type of parameters same. Here no parameters, but the definition is exactly same. Only the difference is in return type. Here it is void, here it is integer. So we have to see that how compiler resolves this, whether compiler understands that this is method overloading or it is an compilation error. So it is a compilation error. It says that it is already defined. So you cannot define a method with same signature. Only different in return type doesn't matter. If you pass any different parameter, and then a return type is different, then it will work. Because now signatures are different. Number of parameters and type of parameters is different. So you understood what is meaning of overloading?
Yes, ma'am.
Overloaded methods must differ in type or number of their parameters. While overloading methods may have different return type. Return type alone is insufficient to distinguish between two versions of methods. There can be many ways to perform the same action. For example, in banking class, we have seen that deposit function. You can deposit a money in cash or in check or bank transfer. So there are different ways to deposit a money in your account. And all these three methods you should name with the same deposit method. You should not have methods like deposit 1, deposit 2, deposit 3, and I should not think of, okay, I have to deposit with a check, so I have to call deposit 2 method. Oh, I have to deposit with a bank transfer, so I have to call a method deposit 3. So it will create a confusion at user's end. Instead of that, use the same method but pass different parameters, and it will resolve the queries. It will make your program more readable and enhance the use of polymorphism. That's why we have to use same method name if you're performing the same task, but it should allow you to perform it differently. So only return type doesn't play any role. You should have different versions with number of parameters or type of parameters. Java encounters a call to overloaded method. It simply executes the version of method whose parameters match with the arguments used in a call. So in your program, for a particular method, you can have any number of any versions. Means it is not restricted that you should have only 2 methods with the same name or 3 methods with the same name. So you can have any number of methods provided that the list or type of parameter should be different. So these are all called versions of that method. And depending upon which parameters you have, you can call that any particular version. Okay, this is the demo of method overloading. I'll just try to execute it in a Python tutor again. I need this Python box example. So I'll open one more Python tutor window. So let me explain you the code. I have a class overload demo. Note that class name is capital. Keep the practice of creating a class with capital letter. Then there is a method test. It says no parameter. I haven't passed any parameter. Now we are just talking about method overloading. So I have not defined any variables for this class, directly the methods. This test with one parameter, this test with two parameters, and this test with again one parameter with a different data type. So here one parameter with integer, here one parameter with double. And this is a main class. We have to create object of overload demo class. So overload demo OB is equal to new overload demo. This is how we can create an object. This is just a local variable. So here we can call with different versions depending upon various parameters that we pass. If I call this method ob.test without any parameter, it will call this first method and will display no parameters. If I pass integer, it will call this method and display a is 10. For 10 and 20, it will call this method and display a and b. And if I call a pass a double value, it will print this double value and print square of this double value or return the square of this double value. So depending upon the which version or which input that we pass, not necessary, note that it is not necessary to call all the methods of a class. You can call any method of your choice, but as a programmer for the particular use, so it has said no parameter for ob.test. Now for ob.test with int a is 10, so it will print a equal to 10. It has displayed this line. For third method ob.test 10, 20, it has called this function test and it will display a and b 10, 20. And for double, it has printed 123.24. I want to show one more thing. Suppose I didn't have this integer function. I didn't have this integer function. I have function with no parameter, function with two integer parameter and function with double. And when I pass 10, will it work or will it throw an error? So question is, I have a class overload demo. It has three methods, method without any parameter, test method with two parameters int a comma b, and test method with double parameter. Here it is expecting double value. And I have called a method with no parameter. I have called a method with integer parameter, single integer parameter, method with two integer parameters, and method with double. So for this call, note that I have commented that particular part. For this particular call, will your program work or it will throw an error? And which method it will execute? If there is no error, which method it will execute?
It will execute double method.
Yes, it will execute double method because from integer to double, it is called type conversion. It is done automatically by a compiler. So if you execute this call, so for first test without any parameter, the object is created. Note that object didn't have any variables. It has executed this part, no parameter for first object ob.test, first function call. Now ob.test 10. So value of a is 10. Note that it has automatically put 0.0 here. And it has called the method with double. Because integer and double are numerical data types, and you can easily assign integer value to double without typecasting. So this will work and it will put a double value, double A 10. It has executed this code, even if integer code was not available. But if I do reverse thing, if I put integer as it is, and if I comment double part, that means I didn't have a function where which accepts double input. But I keep this function as it is instead of return type ob.test. So how compiler matches the function calls? It is function is test. Okay, we have three test functions. It has one parameter. Number of parameter is one. So there is a function with one parameter, but data type is double, and this data type is integer. If it is reverse, if it was double and I'm passing integer value, it will work. But if it is double and I'm passing it into integer, it will not work. Compiler Java is strongly typed language, and it will need a, a programmer to convert in type this double to integer. It has thrown the error incompatible type. It is lossy conversion from double to integer. So this is not possible. Okay. So we need a function to run this code. It will not execute integer code by default. So now this will work. So what are the parameters and arguments? Any information that you need to pass to a method is received by the variable specified within the set of parentheses that are followed by the name of the method. These variables are called parameters. A parameter is a variable defined by a method that receives a value when a method is called. So in this case, for example, in case of volume, so these are the parameters which receives the value which user has passed. Or in case of test, so these are the parameters which receives the value which user pass. So what are the parameters? Any information that you need to pass to a method is received by a variable specified within set of parentheses that followed by the name of the method. These variables are called parameters. And what are the arguments? An argument is a value that is passed to that method when it is invoked. So in this case, argument is this one, 10, 10, 20, 123.25. So when you call that method, the values that you pass, these are called arguments, and the values which are received in the variable, these are called parameters. In case of volume, here the values 2, 3, 4, these are arguments, and these are the variables or parameters, HWD, which receives these arguments. So arguments are passed to the method, and parameters receive these arguments or values in the variables. In next lecture, we will see how to pass parameters by value and by reference. Currently, the examples that we have seen, in this case, box D1 or the value HWD, these are values we are passing. These are passed by value. And what is passed by reference? That we will see in the next lecture. So part passed by value to a method, that are parameters that we have already seen. Input values for a method within a program, not from the user. So passed by values or parameters. This method is more flexible for method. So here there are two parts, formal parameters and actual parameters. So the word parameter means formal parameters, and arguments means actual parameters that are passed within a call. So passing values to a method means parameter. So input values for a method within a program, not for the user. These are passed values or parameter. This passing by value or pass by parameter is more flexible. Formal parameters. So parameters means formal parameters. These are the part of method definition where you have defined this method. After method name within parenthesis, that is type and name. Like here, after method name in parenthesis, this is type and parameter. These are called formal parameters. These are called formal parameters, whether they belongs to a method or constructor. Note that constructor is a special type of method. So these are called formal parameters, and these are called actual parameters or uh, arguments. So actual parameters means arguments. So calling a method with an object within the parenthesis, it will first match data type and that should be in same order. This need to be followed. For example, you call this square 100. So 100 is an argument and this is a method square. Int I is a parameter, and what you written I into I. So this is nothing but a return type. So you should understand what is meaning of parameter. Parameters are formal parameters and arguments are actual parameters. Is it clear? Parameters and argument,
Yes, ma'am.
formal parameters and actual parameters. In next lecture, we'll see what is uh, parameter passing by reference. So scope of formal parameter, scope of this value I is only within this parenthesis, start and end, start of the method and end of the method. So if you try to refer this I outside this method, it is undefined variable. What is the scope? So this variable I will hold the value only within this parenthesis. The scope is only within this function. So this is the example of pass by value. Public integer double value. You pass some value and you will return its double, 2 into that variable. And in main, you accept input from the user. Keyboard is a scanner object. Scanner sc or scanner keyboard is equal to new scanner in bracket system.in, and keyboard dot next int. You accept value from the user and you pass this value next. So here, what is the formal parameter in method definition? Number ln, which is formal parameter. This is number in. This variable is formal parameter. And what is the argument? The value that I am passing next is an argument. Okay. So we'll stop here. In next lecture, we'll start with